power, majesty, volume, all from the six strings. Fascinated me from a very, very early age. Always had an interest in music. So my first instrument was piano. We had a piano in the house as far back as I can remember. And I guess, goodness, I would have been 3, maybe 4, when I would sit at the piano and just literally tinker about and just see what sounds could be made. Probably a racket to start with. Only my mum and dad will remember, but then I started to actually listen to things that were going on, such as the theme tune to the Centurions movie, the original ones. I thought, okay, what notes do I need to play to actually recreate that? And kind of develop that ability to listen to something and then think, right, that's going to be played here, that's in that key, that's in the key of C or the key of E or whatever it's going to be, and I can then recreate it, not always perfectly, but pretty much note for note, I guess, so that it would sound like exactly what one would hear. Even the theme tune to Monty Python, that was something that I remember playing. There was also a lot of Scott Joplin, who was a famous jazz, no, not really jazz actually, I don't know what category you'd put him in, but The Entertainer, yeah, that was another one that I would pick up. Mum and Dad, they asked if I could have piano lessons. My piano teacher was a lovely lady called Mrs. Frost. She was absolutely sensational as a teacher. What would happen was 3 of us in the class, we would be taken out separately whenever Mrs. Frost came into the school for separate piano lessons. With piano, she helped me pass, 1, 2, 3, 4. Those exams, they were quite tough because not only did you have to play set pieces, you would have to also, when you got to the exam, it was a grand piano, something that was actually quite intimidating to sit down at. This thing is massive, and it's certainly totally different to the piano that we had at home, and also the one in the school, and it was a different sound altogether, a much warmer, richer sound. And you thought, good heavens, this is next level, got to get it right. For my teacher, and also for my mum and dad, make sure that I did the best I could. One of them, I can't remember any of them really, apart from one that stands out, and it was a piece by a composer called Kabalevsky called The Clown, quite appropriate for me. But then you also, part of the test would be, for this note on the piano, tell me what that note is. So anybody that knows how to read music, let's say that you're playing the root note of C, she would then play the note of E, and you would have to say what note that is in relation to the root note. So then you start talking about sharpened notes and flat notes, and they would be either augmented or diminished anyway. Huge part of my musical education. But I remember as a kid listening to everything on the radio and just soaking it all up. Particularly fascinated by Sunshine Superman by Donovan. Absolutely loved that song. Only years later I found out that Jimmy Page was on that section, who I met, as you probably know. And that kind of freaks me out a little bit, and also the fact that my dad says that he believes he saw him play with Alexis Corner. yeah, I suddenly became fascinated with guitar. My dad had a Pink Floyd F-Hole Rossetti Serenader acoustic, which I've still got to this day. It's a beautiful guitar, it's a really warm sound. So I just started fiddling with it and trying to work out how that works. Then, of course, the journey began with the guitar. And I bought my first electric guitar, Unsupported Music in Stevenage. The guy who ran it was called John Slaughter, and he had some pedigree. My goodness, he could play. He played with Chris Barber's Jazz and Blues band. That much I remember. And his shop, you know, he was a great guy, because I said to him I really liked that one particular guitar, which was a Hohner Stratocaster copy. He said you can pay for it in instalments, and then when you pay for it, you can take it. So I put £40 down that I earned from my job. The guitar was £70. Then eventually, through my paper round, I managed to pay it off. And you know, he said, anytime you want to come in the shop and play it, you're more than welcome. Now here's the thing, in the early 80s there, 2468 Motorway had just been released by Tom Robinson and his band. Not that Tommy Robinson, the horrible one, but Tom Robinson. Great guy. Partly, effectively classed as a punk rock song. Wouldn't think so when you first listen to it. Great song. I served my apprenticeship with a country rock band to start with for 5 years. It wasn't really my thing, but you know what? It was great, because as well as working full time, I would be out gigging with those guys twice a week. They took me under their wing in terms of Led Zeppelin in 1979. Me sneaking in to see them at the age of 12. But then, you know, it wasn't really, you know, the kind of thing where I could really kind of fly with rock music. So what I did, auditioned for a rock covers band. Well, it was a kind of rock stroke, middle of the road, all kinds of things, you know. And there were three songs that, you know, the various lead guitarists to perform. One of them was 2468 Motorway. Now I remember the song, obviously, from all those days back in the early 80s, because John Slaughter loved it and it would always be playing. I remember thinking, oh God, okay, I've never played it, I know how it goes, I know that there were, you know, I knew the chord progression, knew that there were 2 guitar solos in there. So I thought, okay, no pressure. Lump in the throat, bit of a fluttery heart, but we crashed into it. You know, I just managed to play it, and I managed to play both solos. 6 guitarists auditioning in total. And I thought, oh, Mike, you know, it's good fun. I probably won't get it. It's bound to be somebody better than me. But I had a phone call the next morning. The keyboard player, Tony, said, when would you like to start? And I was absolutely blown away. We rehearsed in the studio in Romford. Once a week we would rehearse. And it didn't take us long before we had more than 30 songs, so we had enough to go out and gig. I remember thinking, well, this band's really good. This band's really, really good. And, you know, based on how many times I used to play with my first band, I remember thinking, we should be out every week, really. So kind of took it upon myself to go out and get as much work as I possibly could, hoping that would be okay. So every night after work, weeks and weeks and weeks and weeks, I would just sort of take a section of the map and I'd go all over Hertfordshire, all over Essex, up into Bedfordshire, finding as many live music pubs, clubs as I could, and saying, hi, I'm in a rock band, I just wondered if you'd like to give us a chance to play it, you know. Then things started to really motor, and it was a glorious, beautiful thing for me. I absolutely loved it. Of course, we ended up with some Led Zeppelin in a set, which was like a dream come true. Eventually, we ended up doing some charity fundraiser gigs for Task Brazil, a charity that Jimmy Page founded. So yeah, we did some gigs to raise money for that, and yeah, a few months after we did that, imagine my surprise when I came home from work one day, found an invite from Mr. and Mrs. Jimmy Page to attend a charity cocktail evening. Did a double take, phoned the others, couldn't believe it still. Went along for that night in West London, November 2005, walked in the room. There was the guy that I thought, oh my goodness, and my heart stopped, firstly, nearly skipped a beat. That's Jimmy Page, just casually talking about cash. I absolutely couldn't believe it. So that was a dream come true for me, bearing in mind that I'd seen, I've obviously seen and heard them live at Nebwood. And also watched The Song Remains the Same in the video and thought, guy's fingers are a blur on a guitar. If only I could play like that. And then, the journey is just never ending with a guitar. It really is. So yeah, here we are. That's me. That's music. There's more music in my veins than blood, I would say. Take care. Keep rocking.